Yesterday, as we got together here on our devotion time, we talked about the subject matter of how much are we willing to give to the Lord, and how much of the Lord do we really want in our lives, in our day-to-day life, in our decision making. If the answer to that question for you is, I want more of the Lord this year than I've ever had before, I want Him involved in every decision I make, I want to be able to take everything to Him and get a discerning answer, have a discerning spirit about the things that I do in my life, the blessings that I have in my life. I want to always acknowledge that they come from the Lord and not from anything that I'm doing. Well, if that's you today, if you have made that conscious decision that you want to go into this next year with the mentality that you want more of the Lord, then there's some avenues and there's some things that we're going to kind of discuss the next 3 or 4 days that open up the gateways for us to receive more of the Lord's instruction, wisdom, and all of the things that are necessary to kind of navigate through this world. And so the first one that we have to start out with, the very first one that is so vitally important that sometimes people don't really think about, is we've got to have the spirit of humility. We have got to be able to humble ourselves enough to know that we can't do these things on our own. We need the Lord's help. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verses 6 and 7 makes a wonderful statement to the believer when it says, "Humble yourself therefore under the mighty hand of God, that He might exalt you in due season, casting all your care upon Him, for He cares for you." Now, if you want to live wisely and well in 2025, there's one character trait that you cannot ignore, and that is the character trait of humility. Because, see, humility is the secret to all the spiritual growth in your life. Without it, we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable to pride, selfishness, and even self-deception. With it, though, we're positioned to live fruitful lives, expansive lives, and Christ-centered lives. And that's what we desire to have this upcoming year if we want more of Jesus. So today's verses tell us why humility matters. Because God opposes the proud, but He shows favor to the humble. I want you to get that. He opposes pride, but He exalts humility. In other words, humility attracts God's favor, while pride places us in opposition to God. But without which side do you want to be on this year is the really pivotal question that we need to ask this morning. Because growing in humility isn't always the obvious path that we take. Our ego sometimes, if we're honest, can be powerful and can be very deceptive, obscuring the way of our path forward. So this morning, for a moment this morning, I want you to try to picture a truly humble person. I want you to consider their ways. Well, perhaps they're looking something like this morning. Maybe a humble person prays knowing life isn't manageable without God's help. Maybe they live in total reliance on God's strength rather than their own. Maybe a humble person lives securely in Christ's love and they welcome correction instead of trying to abstain from it. They actually welcome correction without getting defensive. They take responsibility for the mistakes that they've made. A humble person celebrates other people's success and even creates space for them to flourish without an ego. They resist comparing themselves with other people, knowing how quickly that could slide into envy and bitterness. But a humble person doesn't always need to be right. They seek advice, they remain teachable, and they take on any task that they know the Lord's involved in. Whatever it is, no matter how small. Freely admitting their flaws, they know their worth in Christ Jesus and they forgive easily. Finally, I believe a humble person practices gratitude. They live with a thankful heart. They stay aware of the blessings that they have and try their very best not to take any of them for granted. Today, I want you to linger for just a moment. What part of this picture stood out to you? Maybe areas in your life that you need to grow in. There may be areas in your life that you're too prideful in. There may be areas in your life where you say, Lord, I need you to humble me. Bad as I hate to say it, Lord, I need you to humble me in these areas because I do desire to be more like you. I do desire more of you in my life in 2025. And if I'm going to get there, if I'm going to have that, I got to learn humility. And humility doesn't come easy, but it's always worth it. So today you be safe, you be strong, and you be blessed. And you be that person that strives to be humble today. You don't always have to be right. If you're right, stand for what's right. But if you need to humble yourself before the Lord, and He will exalt you when it's the right time. Lord's will, we'll see you back here again tomorrow. And until then, I sure hope you have a great day.